microphone going, and I'm going to try to keep it like right here.
Okay.
Because this is how it goes when you don't have a proper setup. But it should be good.
Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 21 of Patch Notes, the Homegames podcast. I'm Yazeed, and this is Joseph.
Hello, I'm Joseph.
Just like last episode, I think I'm going to just go ahead and give my 2-second rundown on what Homegames is. It's a way to make and play games with your friends in a LAN setting, which with current events is unlikely to occur, hopefully. But you know.
Yeah.
Are you going to give us the date master?
Yeah, Date Master reporting in. Today is March 16th, 2020. Yazeed and I are actually both in Arizona, but we're actually recording this separately. So thank you for kind of dealing with these difficulties. I'm looking at Yazeed. He's a mess of brown pixels right now because my mom's internet is garbage. So yeah, anyway, we'll figure this out. It's going to be rough. I'm recording with my phone and this whole thing. Also, speaking of social distancing, I was thinking of, because I ran a Google ad for Homegames last week, and, you write your little description there, and I don't know marketing, I don't know how to do anything, so I was like, well, I was thinking for the headline or whatever, stuck at home, want to play games? Homegames. And then I was like, am I wrong for capitalizing off of this, national, emergency, or, global emergency? So I ended up not doing that, but that was an idea.
Hey, morals, those are important. That's probably a good call. I don't know, though. Well, because, part of the appeal of home games is, you can play games with other people on, your phone or whatever in someone's living room. But I think they recently said, only 10 people should be in, a closed space together at any given point in time now. So...
I think in Washington they banned gatherings of, more than 15 people. Stuff is deteriorating quickly, so that's why we're recording this over Discord, even though we're not that far away from each other in real life.
Yeah.
Anyway, Homegames, it's a website. Play video games with your friends.
That's right.
And also make them.
It's also a GitHub repo, which you can clone. And if you don't know what cloning is, there are resources for that too, but not through Homegames yet.
Yeah, we have that getting started doc, which I haven't updated since I mentioned it the first time, but there's a reference to getting code, and there's a git clone example command there. So, that's kind of it.
Yeah. So, just like last week, we're trying the new format, so we're hopping right into the home game stuff. So, did you want
actually first, can I... Sorry, I wanted to mention feedback before, because we did actually get some feedback after that first one, or that first video.
Yes. Exciting.
Yeah, so the first one was we should basically make more use of the camera. You can see it at the end of that last video, but it's we recorded that propped up with the phone propped up on a Buddha board, and we couldn't actually see what the viewfinder had. So we kind of just blind fired that whole video and hoped for the best. So basically, we should look in the camera more. And since I'm looking at the screen with the webcam, it looks like I'm looking in the camera. So check.
For you, yes. I have to look up and to my right, but I'll do that occasionally and say hello to the audience. But anyway, continue.
You're like a pixel monster, so when you looked at the screen just now, it's actually very scary. But it's all right.
Maybe I won't look at this screen until we're in person then.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll figure that out. But yeah. Basically making use of the camera is one thing, so we'll try to be better about that. Audio sync issues. I used iMovie to record or to edit the last one, and apparently audio drift is a thing that happens in iMovie. And anyway, that was a whole thing. So I'll probably just use some different software to edit stuff this week. Another thing was my mom said that we should probably do another. I know in the earlier episodes, we did a little bit of description about who we are or why we know each other or how we know each other and stuff. We probably won't do that in this episode because it's not really the best time for that. We'll probably have one in person in the future where we talk about that, like a us special, talking about us, I guess.
Yeah.
which feels weird, but I guess we could do
go.
that.
So you better watch out.
What?
Is there a song like that, like talking about us? I don't remember. Maybe by Usher.
Is that the? I thought that was a Step Brothers song. Let's give them something to talk about. Anyway, so I posted a link to Reddit of Homegames.io and got some feedback on. It was on JavaScript and programming subreddits. Those guys hate JavaScript over there on Reddit.
The JavaScript subreddit or the programming subreddit?
The JavaScript one didn't get much traction. Got a few upvotes, I think, but on programming I posted, and there were several. I think there were multiple people who were just like, "Why are you doing this in JavaScript?" So hopefully we'll prove those people wrong one day. I don't know. But yeah, I guess I'm not changing anything about that. We're not going to rewrite this in C or whatever. So I guess that's it. That's our feedback roundup.
I mean, is Node that much slower than C? Doesn't it compile down into C anyway?
I don't know, dude. I have no idea how anything works.
Yeah, I'll have to look at that. I was under the impression that Node actually gets compiled down into C or transpiled or whatever that is, which is why it uses like your C service workers or whatever. But I might be wrong.
I have no clue. All I know is it's JavaScript, but it runs on the computer. That's my understanding of Node.
Yeah, I mean it runs anywhere basically, so I think it makes sense.
Like Java, but good.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I just wanted to go through the feedback before we jumped into home game stuff, just to let people know that we do actually care about feedback. So if you have feedback, anybody out there watching or listening or whatever, we are also recording this. We didn't mention that, but we're probably going to be recording videos for all of these, like from now on. Seems to be better. I don't know. But yeah, give us feedback or let us know what you think or whatever.
Yeah, please.
Twitter, Homegames.io.
That's right. Drop us a tweet or whatever, and we'll take your feedback into consideration. Unless your feedback is like die, in which case I probably won't take your feedback into consideration.
But we'll consider it. I don't think we'll do anything about it. Like, yeah, I don't know.
Yet.
We'll read everything. Yeah.
That's right. Do you have any other feedback, or was that?
That was it. Yeah, I mean, that was like all from family. There was one positive comment on YouTube. Someone just said that they really enjoyed the video, so that was really nice.
Hey, nice.
Yeah.
Was it someone we know?
And
or
then
was it some rando?
No, it was a person that I don't think we know. So
okay.
We also got a comment from someone we do know saying that they wanted to see you in 4K. We recorded that previous episode in 4K. It just created a 26 gigabyte file on my phone, and it took 2 hours on my laptop just to scale it down for me to process it. And I didn't have room on my hard drive, and it was a whole thing. So anyway, it was 1080 in the end because it would probably still be uploading if I left it in 4K.
We just gotta get you on the like fiber optic internet or whatever.
My mom does not have quality internet out here. I'm staying with my mom while we're in Arizona for the foreseeable future. We were actually supposed to leave on Saturday, but we rescheduled the flight to the end of March, and we'll see where the world is at that point. But we're here for now.
That's right. All right. Ready to hop into home games then?
Home game stuff.
Did you want to go first with the WebRTC?
It's up to you. What do you think? I saw your notes. You had some stuff you wanted to talk about. I can go either way.
I think starting with WebRTC would be more interesting because I might change how I want to do stuff too. And I'm also interested in the WebRTC.
Okay. Yeah, so last week I talked about wanting to investigate WebRTC just because, I was thinking that could give us some potential performance improvements. And basically the problem was over WebSockets, it's still TCP. It requires the back and forth handshake, the SYN ACK, there's a lot of overhead to TCP when compared to UDP. And it seems like streaming in general prefers UDP. Just because who cares about a lost packet or a dropped frame or whatever when there's 60 a second or 120 a second or whatever. And, basically just launching packets as fast as you can to everybody who seems to be the thing that we want to do here. And I had read basically that WebRTC on some level enables UDP, and I had no idea. I still have no idea how that works. But basically that was the thing, was to investigate WebRTC for performance. And it was actually super rough. Yazeed, you and I went to get lunch a couple days ago, and I was talking about how hard it was to find good information about WebRTC, something that's actually valuable, something that I can actually learn from. There was a Google tutorial, there was a Mozilla tutorial, and they really they added in a lot of unnecessary info because the demos were all video streaming, peer-to-peer video streaming, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. So it's like, here's how you get access to the webcam, here's how you get access to an audio and video stream, and it's like, I don't care, I just want to send text, basic data from one to another, and I could not find good info. And actually I found, like, after a lot of Googling, I found some guy on GitHub just made, like, he called it serverless RTC. And I forget the name of the guy, but I'll probably tweet it or something like that or something. But I started his repo because I was super impressed, I guess, because it was the most useful information that I could find, and it wasn't, a big tech company or whatever like Mozilla or Google. And at its basic level, this is my understanding, and keep in mind I have no idea what I'm doing still. I'm just investigating all this stuff. And so to facilitate the peer-to-peer networking stuff, you don't actually need a server at all. And this proof of concept this guy put up was proof of that. And it's actually super interesting. So you open up the web app, and it's click to create or join. If you create the room, it basically gives you this giant thing of text that it puts out, and it says, hey, copy and paste this into a chat or an email or something and send it to somebody. And then have them open up this file. It's like there's not even a server serving it. It's literally like you open a .html. And so this person, whoever on the other end, takes this thing and they paste it into theirs when they hit join. And then when you do that, it gives you some other type of, or some big blob of text back. And then person B, who received the thing in the first place, sends it back to person A. Person A pastes that back into their chat box or their text box, and basically you hit go, and at that point it establishes a connection between the two of them. So there's no server at all involved here. I basically just sent you text, you pasted that text into this thing, it gives you text back, I send it to person A, and now we have a connection, and there's a chat app, and it's just going. And it was kind of like mind-blowing. I have no idea how it works. I would assume there's what looks to be like an IPv6 address within that blob, and I'm assuming it's just telling the other thing how to talk to it and how they could talk to each other. Anyway, that was the tutorial, and I basically went and applied it to a whole other thing, where I just wanted to do a basic proof of concept. I made a repo in our Homegames account, whatever, GitHub team thing. It's under Homegames' GitHub profile. To have a very basic demo where one device is running the server, same kind of thing, on a local host. Every other device accesses that device's local IP address, and then someone in that becomes a host. It's the first person who connects becomes the host, and then just broadcasts out the current timestamp to everybody in the lobby, in the room or whatever. And I'm kind of all over the place right now because it's super, there's a lot that I had to do. But basically, long story short, hypothetically, I'm able to send like 1,000 messages in a second, and they're received in a second. And so all it's doing is like the last 60 frames I received over the course of milliseconds. And at the moment, it's on every device on my thing, on my phone, on my computer, on my everything. It's received 60 frames in 250 milliseconds. So if it was 20 before, it's 240 now. Because 60 times 4 for the 1 second, it would be 240 frames a second. which is absolutely insane. And so I kind of was just looking at, like I said, this person's tutorial, and I was just learning about what actually is happening. And my basic understanding is there's 3 large acronyms, and I only think I understand one of them. The first one is ICE. The second is stun, STUN, and then turn. And there's stun/turn are kind of the unknowns to me. But ICE is basically 2 devices agreeing on the best way to talk to each other. So when I mentioned earlier that, I copy and paste some text and send it to you, the first thing is called an offer. So with a WebRTC session, I say, okay, I have an offer, and this is basically saying how in my opinion, me being the browser or whatever, this is the best way to talk to me. And a lot of the preferred first choices are over UDP. This is, I don't understand. But basically it says, hey, if you want to talk to me, I can do UDP. You send that offer to something, that something gives you an answer. And then it seems to be that there's some sort of negotiation back and forth between an offer and an answer. And then they're like, oh, that won't work for me. Okay, well, what about this? And then they'll kind of go down to their least preferred methods. So with that answer, the person who made the offer says, okay, sounds good or whatever. And then after they both accept or something, they establish a communication channel with each other. And it seems to be that it's a one-way communication channel. They both open up one to talk to the other. So there is two-way communication, but there's 2 channels, one on each side. Right? So like you could set it up so I guess anybody can talk to any other thing. But the way that I have it set up is more of like a master type thing where one of them broadcasts to everybody. So instead of needing a bunch of channels between each client, it's just one with one to each. Anyway, so instead of copying and pasting all that stuff, it works through a node server. There's basically some sort of basic leader election that I implemented where it's, hey, I want to become the leader. Node server says, no, someone's already the leader. And it's like, okay, well, then I'll be a client. And then at that point, it's just through the WebSocket sending offers and answers to say, hey, I want to talk to somebody on this thing. And the WebSocket is just there to facilitate the offers and the answers. It's just moving the between stuff. And anyway, that's my very basic proof of concept, and it works pretty well. It 20% of the time or so just doesn't work. Like the data channels aren't established, and I don't know why. And when that happens, nothing happens. Like things can't get the packets. And if you start it up in Firefox, you pretty consistently get a console error. But if you start it up in Chrome and then that becomes the host and then to a Firefox client, it works. And I have no clue. But if I can get that whole thing more stable, then this seems to be the way that we do it, where you just get significantly better network performance. And so that whole broadcast thing is just way better. So if it becomes like server, facilitating all this communication, master client kind of is receiving messages from the server. And I guess we can also remove the server entirely if we wanted to run an actual Homegames game on the client itself and have that broadcast. And then the clients, instead of talking back through the master client, would then directly talk back to the server. So it's kind of like a one-way loop or whatever, where it's like node server has thing, or like master game thing is running thing, sends it to the master client sends it to every other client. And then when clients have input, they send it directly to the server, and it kind of goes back around. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. I understand.
It's a super complicated thing. I don't understand. Like, anyway, so stun and turn, like I think the things I mentioned before, ICE, I think, is them establishing the best way to talk to each other. Stun and turn, I think, are something that is like a fallback. If we can't talk to each other over peer-to-peer, then we need to have some sort of fallback where we can communicate over the internet. And then these things are there to help you do that. But I have none of that stuff set up locally. Like I said, that first thing I tried had a serverless setup for this. And so I don't know if I need a stun/turn server, but we'll see in the long run if that actually becomes necessary. But yeah, 240 FPS is a hypothetical thing that we can get with WebRTC.
That's hilariously good, though.
Yeah, I mean, even if we get a quarter of that, is 60 FPS. Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, if we were once every, 120 times a second, I mean, people probably couldn't even complain about drop frames or anything like that. You wouldn't even notice a frame drop.
Yes. Actually, that's a good thing. One thing I wanted to mention is, like you said, there's the possibility of drop frames now since it's just over UDP. There's no requirement, there's no acknowledgement or whatever of packets being received, and you can't guarantee that they're received in order. So two things that'll kind of come from this. One of them might be bad news. One of them is fine. The fine one is that we'll probably need to add a timestamp. I think, like you mentioned a week or two ago, or whenever it was, that we might want to add a timestamp to have some sort of logic. And I don't think we're going to do what we originally were thinking we would have to do with that. I actually don't remember what it was that we were thinking of needing a timestamp for. But basically, you would have to say, if it's been more than some number of milliseconds since my last thing, I don't care. Like, I'm not going to render this thing because it's possible, it's an old frame or it's something I don't care about. So we're going to need to implement that logic of, do I care about this message? Because over the WebSocket, if you're getting it directly over the WebSocket, the order is guaranteed, and you're guaranteed to receive it, unless the connection goes out or whatever. But the bad thing, maybe secretly good thing, is, how we talked about kind of a subtree re-rendering? So, like, only one part of my tree rendered or updated, so I'm only going to send out the subset of the different data. Mm-hmm. Well, with UDP, there's a chance that someone just doesn't get that. So in that case, you have to do a lot more tricky things of, like, you'd actually have to basically guarantee that someone received it, which defeats the whole purpose of UDP. So we would have to send out the entire game tree in a big frame to guarantee that someone is able to render properly, so they don't ever miss the partial thing and then have some sort of busted UI. You know what I mean?
Yeah, okay, I understand. So we'd never care about, like, checking to see, like, what part of the tree, like, needed to be rendered. We'll always send the whole tree, and it's up to the client now to render that whole tree.
That's my current thinking, because we talked about, one day if we realize that performance is bottlenecked by this whole tree traversal and squishing the entire tree and all this kind of stuff, then we'll come back to it. But it seems to me that if we want this network thing to be working as fast as possible, and maybe in the future it becomes something else and we actually have to do the subtree rendering stuff, but my current thinking is that we shouldn't actually, because that's a lot of time and a lot of effort and seems to be a very, very hard problem to solve, which I'm not opposed to solving. I just don't think we'll need to with this current thing. And I think, anyway, it'd be hard. So let's not do that.
Okay. I have a couple of questions then. We're going to work in, like, reverse order. So
yeah, sorry, that was a lot at once. I'm also all over the place.
No, you're good. I mean, that's a lot of information, really cool stuff, but I do have a couple questions on it. So, like, the first question I have is, when you were saying earlier that we maybe want to have, like, a timeout almost, where if a message is, like, X milliseconds old, we just don't even render with it. Is that a good idea? I feel like it might be easier to see the, like the rubber banding or whatever, where, like, you just, like, you see, like, really quick sequence of renders up to where the person is, as opposed to there's nothing and then suddenly, like, somebody is there, or, like, there's nothing and then something is suddenly there because you lost, like, 5 milliseconds of render time or something like that.
I don't know if that's actually the best way to solve it. I guess my point is, it's possible to send out, say, 60 frames in a second, and I get, 58 of them in a very reasonable time, and then for some reason something that was sent out halfway through trickles in at the end. We need some sort of way to not put out to not put that frame, even if it's as simple as keep in memory the last timestamp and only render something that's the timestamp after that. That would, on some level, solve the problem. It would not. You would still have the possibility of dropped frames or whatever kind of stuff, but I think it'll be going so fast, and I don't think the things that we're building, like we're not building Street Fighter, right? Like we kind of keep going back to that. We're not building a frame perfect thing. We just want it to be smooth and good for everybody playing on a basic level. So I don't know how we're going to solve that, but I think it should be okay. We'll figure something out.
Yeah, I like the idea of this like a most recent frame rendered then, and saying like, oh, okay, well, you are trying to render something that's older than the most recent frames. Like, we're just not going to do that. What I thought you were saying was like, if we haven't rendered something in 5 seconds, like 5 milliseconds, for example, and we get something at the 6 millisecond mark, then we would render just the 6 millisecond mark, even if like right before it rendered the 5, which I was kind of confused about. But what you said right now just kind of cleared it up, and I understand it a lot better. Thank you. The second question I had was, does that change anything that we have like already, or is it mostly going to be like how the server in quotation marks, or like the leader functions? Like, are we going to have to change like our implementation for games and stuff like that, or do you think that for the most part those are set? It's probably going to be on like the squisher or something like that.
Yeah, actually, I haven't touched Homegames at all, the repo. It's all just on web, because the Homegames server is just, doing the WebSocket stuff. Excuse me, I'm very burpy today. Yeah, the games should be fine, and we shouldn't have to be changing those at all. I think if anything, it'll be the web repo and the app server will be changing, and I'm fairly certain that homegames.link would change, but I actually don't know, because I think homegames.link might actually say the same, because all it is a redirect to your local IP, and all my current proof of concept is just talking to the local IP.
Yeah.
So we'll need a more, I guess, robust app server, because it'll have to handle WebSocket connections, and then that WebSocket will do all that kind of answer and offer type stuff I was saying before. And you can go read the code. I mean, I don't think it's very complicated. It's like 120 lines of client-side JS and, a relatively simple app server with a WebSocket stuff. So I'll basically spend the next week integrating this proof of concept into Homegames and then testing it out.
Okay, cool. That makes sense. Yeah, I was just curious if like you were expecting us to like have to redo games like from the ground up all over again or something like that, but it doesn't sound like it.
Yeah, it should be okay. The server as it is able to handle this case very well. And if it goes to the whole thing of like, hey, the machine that's running the Homegames server is the host, and we some way mandate that, then the whole WebSocket message, the actual TCP thing from the node WebSocket server, would be almost instant, because it'd be talking to itself. And then from there, it would be sending it out over the peer-to-peer stuff, and that would also be very fast. So if we kind of set all that, that kind of whatever you want to call that correctly, then we should be fine.
Okay, cool. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about for WebRTC, or?
No, that's about it. I was also thinking, because it was so hard for me to find good information on it, hopefully that little proof of concept will be helpful for people to try to mess with it just to see something going, because you really just run the server and the client shows you the time in milliseconds, and like I said, it's very short, so we don't have all that other kind of webcam and video stream stuff like those other tutorials have, so that might be helpful for people.
Yeah. Do you think, sorry, one more question. Do you think that this would help with something like voice streaming or something, like if you wanted to do like a walkie-talkie game maybe, or something like that?
Yeah, that actually is speaking of talking down on those tutorials are useful because they're all about opening data channels for video streams, audio streams, and that kind of stuff. So that would be still peer-to-peer, and I don't know how that would work if we want to keep everything centralized on the Node server still, because we would be sending that over something I think would be WebSocket, but I don't know how the specifics of how that would work. But yes, that would be a good way to do streaming of media like that.
Oh, cool! Right on. Sounds like this is tentatively, hopefully good.
Yeah, I need to get it less finicky. When it doesn't work 20% of the time, like that's just super frustrating. And it's like, I don't know, restart the server and close the browser and open it again, and it works. And I'm just like, I have no idea, So if I can get that worked out, then I think this is going to be super cool.
Cool. Nice. Do you have any other things for Homegames?
Nope, that's it. I haven't actually touched Homegames code at all. It was all just that new RTC stuff.
Nice. For me, mostly it was working on the Square PR. So I fixed the issue where, other players were not visible. And it was that issue where you said the player ID needed to be 0. So that resolved it. And so that's significant improvement. And also, like midway through last podcast, I actually had like a why am I so dumb moment of like, oh, I can clean up the like movement logic so much. So I went ahead and did that. The last piece was I was writing, I'm going to put it in quotes, unit tests for Square. They're more similar probably to integration tests really, but like basically if I try to add a new player, does that succeed? If I try to remove a player, does that succeed? I think it's like get root, return a node, basically, a game node. And just like some simple tests like that. And I think that will probably become like the base for like a game unit test. Like the first thing when somebody's saying like, hey, can I get this game into Homegames? We just run it through that and be like, okay, well, it passes like these checks probably. I mean, they're like simple checks right now, but we could probably like bulk it up a little bit more later. So I need to open up a PR for all of that. And then the last piece on there was I think I want to move the state management stuff out of Homegames specifically and instead put that into like a util or into the game class itself. So like basically like if some thing exists in like this dot base, basically like if you had not this dot base, maybe like if you had like this dot like state queue, and then on tick, if there was a this dot state queue and a this dot state queue consumer function, then it would just run the consumer function on each of them. And then like that, we could kind of offload it from each game needs to maintain their own state queue, and to instead being like, okay, well, if you put into the state queue and you tell us how you want to pop it out of the queue, we'll pop them one at a time out of the queue. I think that's probably cleaner implementation than each game now has to implement like super similar code. And then with that, we'll probably have to write something in there. So I'll probably add some unit tests to make sure like the state queue is an array, like of type array, because it needs to be iterable. And the other thing would probably be like the consumer function does consume. But I think that's going to be harder to do because in theory, because JavaScript arrays are heterogeneous, like it is going to be difficult to validate almost that like if I put something in, does something occur? Because if somebody has like a hyper formatted string as their input versus somebody has an object, it's like I use an object for mine, for example. But I mean, in theory, you could use an array of arrays of objects, or you can use an array of arrays, or like, I don't know. I'm not sure how we would verify that, but maybe it's just like something simple, like you have to give us a help, like maybe we add one more function of like, you have to write a simple test for it and we'll consume it if there is one that exists, maybe. I don't know. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that either.
Just to clarify, heterogeneous means that it could have mixed types in the array, right?
Yeah, well, heterogeneous means that it can have, mixed types or like mixed objects or whatever. Like you don't, like in JavaScript, for example, if you say an int array, that array can only contain ints. Whereas in JavaScript,
you mean Java?
It'd be like, sorry, did I say JavaScript twice?
You did, yeah. Java, it needs to be typed in JavaScript. Yes. Yeah,
JavaScript is not typed, so you can throw an array and a string into the same array, or you can throw an array and an int into the same array, or an object. I mean, you can throw literally anything into an array in JavaScript, including itself. Yeah. So
yeah, that's JavaScript's fun in that way.
Yeah, so that's what heterogeneous means. Sorry, I should have specified or clarified.
Oh, that's all good. I'm not against big words. I just don't know some of them. So, yeah, no, I think on some level, we don't really have to enforce what someone does with their state queue if they want to use it. I think just on a basic level testing that it works. If I say, I put 100 things into this thing, and then after some interval, I check the thing and there should be 100 things in there. That seems basic. Like, we don't really care about the things, I guess. And maybe one day we will, but at the moment, I'd have to read the code, I guess, first to make a actual informed opinion. But at the moment, I don't think we would care.
Well, I just meant like, in order to run your consumer function, we'd probably need an example of what you want to consume, what you want consumed, basically. Like, we need to know like what you're putting into the queue, so that when we try to run your function with the queue, we can say like, oh, this didn't error. Because if we're just throwing random goop at it, you're basically just gonna have to code like an if statement. Like, if it's the random goop, then
What if we just wrap it in some sort of not a promise, because it's not async, but just some sort of wrapper object that has a success value, like some unit of work basically for someone to consume however they want, and we can generalize the unit of work however we want.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, yeah. I mean, I'll probably put a PR out maybe Wednesday night or something, like after I clean it up a little bit, and then we can take a look at it. So basically, like before next episode, you'll probably have like at least a POC or maybe like the full square PR, just to take a look at it and let me know what you think of the implementation and stuff like that.
Sounds good.
Cool. I mean, other than that, I still need to clean up my colors PR. I think I need to review the WebRTC stuff, and I believe I reviewed your other PR that was out, your web workers PR. But that's still a draft PR, so there's no commentary on anything on there.
Got it. I was gonna say, because I pushed some stuff to web. I don't know if I referenced that last week. I don't think I did. Anyway, after I because the whole video podcast, all this kind of stuff, it feels like a resurgence or like a redo or whatever, like what we're doing. And so I went and just downloaded master of web and Homegames and realized web was busted. It's got a bunch of bugs and all this kind of stuff. So I made the executive decision to just push to master a bunch of fixes so people weren't like, what are these idiots doing? So yeah, but like the PRs and stuff, it got a little funky.
File.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we have no idea what we're doing.
I feel so dumb because I actually had a PR that fixed the package.json thing like 2 weeks ago, and I never did anything with it. So I need to like re-pull master and like dump what I had.
It's all good.
Yeah. All right. I didn't really have anything else for Homegames. I don't know if you have anything else you want to add.
No. Yeah, just I guess kind of pumped. The last episode that we had was the most listened to / watched episode we've ever had. It was close to 100 people or 100 listens / views across YouTube and our podcasting. So it's exciting. Hello to all of our new listeners, and hopefully you care about this stuff and let us know if another thing. I think a big thing for this is like an ideal thing for me is building up a community around this stuff of people helping each other and like learning from each other, and stuff like heterogeneous, for example. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but like if someone is like, what does that mean? What is a PR? What is whatever? Like, let us know. We're always willing to help people. We're always willing to whatever. Like, we've got jobs and lives and stuff, but outside of that, we don't do much. So, and we're like apparently on lockdown as a world right now. So we got plenty of time to answer questions and talk to people and help people out. And someone starred us on GitHub, someone that I've never met before. I was just kind of pumped about that. So that's the exciting thing to me, is getting people into this, and hopefully one day getting each other excited about this stuff. So I'm just excited, I guess, about this whole thing.
Building community games together, wouldn't that be neat?
Yeah, home games. Play games at home.
Play games
Trademark.
at home. with your friends, but the friends are not included.
Yeah, I think I cut that from one of our old. You said that on like episode 0. Also, I went back and listened to episode 0. Oh my god, dude! Like, it was just so bad. And then there was one in that episode we talk about the world ending and the stock market crashing, and it's kind of funny because, I mean, this past week. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, yeah. We talked about this at lunch. It's a wild world out there. I hope everyone is staying safe and washing their hands and not touching their face. All important.
I've been touching my face all episode.
Yeah, you know what's interesting is like, I'm surprised like the amount of people who do touch their face. I didn't know. I didn't pay attention to it before, but I was sitting in a meeting at work and people were just like going for it. Just kind of amazed.
My resting position is just
touched his face right there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got your hand seemingly in your chest right now, so.
Well, it's like
we've all got
it's
weird
against my collarbone. Okay, like
Okay. I'm just saying we all got weird hand placement.
You're right. Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Ready to move on to what's up? What's happening?
What's happening or what's up? Something. Music's playing right now.
Nice. For me, and I actually forgot to add this in, but my work's running challenge just started, so I did a 5K today. And that was exciting.
What was the total goal you told me? Over how many days? It was how many kilometers?
So my goal is to run a 5K every day over, I think it's like a 2 months period. So it's 5 kilometers times 7 times 4 times 2, which is
140.
Just 35.
3 foot. I don't know.
It's like 280 kilometers or something like that minimum.
Yeah.
But I'm at like 9 kilometers today, so really adding them on there. Yeah.
Nice. I moved from that chair back there to this chair right here. It's probably half a K. I don't know that unit, but probably, I don't know, something like that.
I think it's like 1.5 kilometers to a mile because a 5K is about 3 miles.
Yeah, maybe I didn't move a mile. It's about maybe 10 feet. 10 feet I moved today.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be. There's like 2 reasons I'm doing it. Like one, the company like donates to charity for every mile that you run or walk. So the more miles I walk, the more money gets donated. And the other one is one of my coworkers has never lost the walking or running challenge ever since it started. He's literally been the number 1 dude, and I want to beat him really badly. So I'm out here, and I'm gonna win or die.
How are you feeling after the first one? Or after the first day?
So good, dude. There's like they say there's like a runner's high, and it's true. After like a nice run or something, you just feel good.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. I don't know. It feels like a lot of stress is just off your plate, and I'm pretty sure it's because you think you're gonna die, and so your body's like, all those other problems don't matter.
Finally,
breathe. Just keep breathing. Yeah. So that's number 1. Other than that, I mean, we hung out this weekend. That was super fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to talk about the activity that we did?
Well, I saw you had it on yours. I was gonna let you talk about it.
Yeah, you kind of surprised me with we had like the worst plans ever that kind of we didn't plan for, and everything kind of fell apart, and we just found ourselves together in a Best Buy parking lot. Like, what are we gonna do? You're like, there's a rage room very close to us, and so you had mentioned that. I think it was on a previous episode of this. I don't know if I edited it out, but I've been very into the idea since you told me. For people who don't know, it's essentially, on the same kind of a vibe as a escape room. You and a group of people go into this thing, and basically there's a put together assortment of things for you to break, as opposed to you getting out of a room. It's you in this room, and here's a bat, here's some rebar, here's something that's definitely not safe to be swinging around. And basically, here's a bunch of breakables. And for the most part, those are beer bottles and that kind of stuff. but you can also pay for like small appliances and different kind of stuff. So me and Yazeed decided to ball out, and we splurged on the CRT, and we got to bust open a CRT with some metal, and we were it was just like a punching bag, but to the maximum level, and it was awesome. Called a Rage Room, and yeah, we did that, and it was incredible. I was kind of bummed out because I couldn't see. In the middle of this national crisis, they give us these masks that we're supposed to share with, like communal masks or whatever. And I was like, well, that's not sanitary or whatever, but it's probably fine. But that combined with the little like surgical mask they gave me underneath, or they gave us underneath, and my eyes were all foggy and all that kind of stuff, and could not see. And they made me the DJ, so basically I just plugged my phone I hooked my phone up to their Bluetooth speaker, and we were just playing whatever came on shuffle. And it's kind of hard to set the correct vibe to smash stuff with your friend when Ignition by R. Kelly is playing, so I had to skip that song in the middle of us, breaking stuff, and that was weird, but overall I thought it was super cool.
Nice. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. For people who don't know, a CRT like glass pane is very hard to break head on. We learned. We hit it like a couple of times with a metal pole, and it gave 0%. Like I ended up hitting with like a crowbar, like the pointy part of a crowbar, and that just like put a shatter mark in it. And then after that, like the whole thing became breakable. But yeah, it was surprisingly very resilient. Also, a Samsung TV is basically unbreakable besides the like screen itself. Like the rest of it is like impossible. We're hitting it super hard and repeatedly, and this thing gets zero give to it. It was crazy.
Yeah, so we didn't mention this, but they don't really clean out the room before. So there's just one room they rent it out to different people, and people break stuff in that room, and then they sweep it aside and bring in more stuff and more people. So there was basically just like a pile of busted electronic garbage in this room behind where we kind of, it was like us and then a whole just wall of garbage. And Yazeed was like, oh, I think that's a TV, after we had smashed the CRT, and I think there was a computer or something in there. I think there was a motherboard we smashed. I don't remember what it was a part of. And you saw that the LCD thing was basically all there and brand new looking except for the glass. And we tried very hard to destroy that thing. And it felt like a commercial for the quality of those TVs. Like, you cannot break it.
No. It was impossible. Very impressive. Literally everything else broke. Breaking the bottles was a lot of fun. I actually, to some extent, enjoyed just throwing them at the floor. And like... I don't know. It felt like I was in a movie or something, like upset in a movie.
Yeah. It was hard to get like that flow going because it's like, I'm going to try to set up these bottles and then hit them with the thing, and then they fell. Oh, well, I could just throw these. Okay, well, this is kind of cool. And then like you're just hitting a tire, and then you're just standing over a thing and beating it up. It's like you're kind of all over the place, and there's not a whole lot to break, but I don't know. It just feels like a manic episode of destruction. It was super fun.
Yeah. Joseph was sweating up a storm. It was pretty impressive when we started taking off the like gear that they give you. My boy here was dripping.
They gave us like surgical gloves, and in addition to the actual like the gloves they give you, the protective gloves, because you're smashing glass, so there's actual protection stuff, but underneath it they were giving us sanitary stuff. Anyway, I was wearing 2 gloves on each hand and smashing stuff for 30 minutes in a hot and closed room. So at the end of it, like my gloves were dripping almost with sweat. It was super gross. But worth it. Would do it again.
It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. Recommend highly. Maybe ask for like 2 large appliances, because we tore ours apart in like 5 minutes.
Yeah. It was kind of like it fell over and that was it. You're like, okay, well, we could just hit this thing on the ground now. And that was cool, but we needed more.
Yeah. We're not psychopaths, we swear. It's a real thing. Oh, yeah. Check it out. Highly recommend. 10 out of 10.
Especially and the 2 guys running it were super...
Oh, yeah.
No, I was going to say those 2 guys running it were also super chill. They're just like, I think they were brothers. They were just like, yeah, like some family came in while we were waiting for our room to be ready. And he was like pointing to his little sister. He's like, is it safe for her? And they were just like, no, this is not safe. We can't tell anybody this is safe. But yeah, like you said, it'd be good for like just a bad day. It's only 30 minutes. So, I mean, that's like on the way home, pick up dinner, beat up a television, go home to the family. They don't even know that you're crazy.
I think they would notice when you walk in, you're just like exhausted completely, like sweaty, disheveled.
Yeah, maybe. I'm always looking like that, though.
Yeah, I wonder how often like people show up there like in a suit and a tie and they're like, give it to me. Like, just give me something to break. And they start stripping off, like take their tie off and their jacket.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I'm sure that because I don't know how popular that whole thing is, but it seems like it's becoming more of a popular thing, and it actually is legitimately beneficial. Like, it seems like, just to let off steam. If you have a bad day or week or month or life or whatever, you can just go to this thing and beat up some stuff. And it wasn't super expensive. Like, the appliances were the actual big cost, but on a basic level, if you just want to smash beer bottles in a room full of garbage, like, it's $20 or whatever.
Yeah, it's a lot easier than cleaning up your own home after you break stuff, just saying. I feel like that's a little more sad.
Yeah, no one wants to be throwing empty beer bottles at the wall in their home. That's when you legitimately need help.
Yeah. I mean, they also give you, like, not just, like, regular beer bottles. They give you, like, the, like, large one. Not the, like, large beers. Like, I think they gave us,
like vodka bottles, like Grey Goose and stuff like that, and Hennessy and all that, yeah.
Which was a lot. Like,
I don't know.
That was way cool to smash. Like, just the spray of glass and knowing that if you weren't wearing your gear, it's like your whole face is messed up now.
There was one when it shattered and it went, like, it blew up. I think it was the Grey Goose bottle, but it blew up and glass went flying a lot towards you. And I was like, oh no, it might have gone bad, but you were laughing and stuff, so it seemed fine.
Yeah, I think I'd be more concerned if I didn't have the little surgical mask on also. Because, like, I feel like there's, like, microscopic shards of glass in the air after you shatter something like that. I mean, I don't have no idea. I'm not a material science person.
Yeah, I have no idea. It just, like the guy said, it's definitely not safe. And there was one part where I almost hit you in the head with one of the things. I think you were, like, bending over, and I wasn't expecting you to, like, put your head so close to the thing I was swinging at. And I was, like, that far from doing some real damage. So
I appreciate you not murdering me when we're hanging out. Yeah, it's okay, though. Like they said, it's definitely not safe. Like, I wouldn't say it was safe either, but it was great fun. I was explaining to my mom that they also give you, like, a golf club.
Oh yeah, that was a good one. That's good to get, like, a nice I don't know, it's good for precision type stuff, You get the thing right on it and you do, like, some pinpoint accuracy. It's nice.
Yeah, my left hand is a little numb still from hitting certain things.
Dude, my wrists, both of them hurt for, like, 2 days after that because, like, when you hit something and your wrist, like, rebounds or whatever, it actually hurts quite a bit when you're hitting something with a stiff hand. Like, definitely not good for you. Like, we shouldn't do that a lot, but
no,
maybe every now and then.
That's like a once a quarter type steam like thing.
Yeah. That's the official Homegames team building event. Every quarter, our whatever thing for all the new hires, of which there are 0. We'll take everybody.
Never been a hire, so we don't pay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I guess for every new contributor, we could do that because I think you and I are the only regular contributors.
We can kind of get Alex in there since he has that one thing he wrote.
I'm honestly terrified of putting Alex in a room where his only requirement is to break stuff.
That's true. That's actually a great point. We should not invite Alex to those.
I'm afraid.
Speaking of Alex, Alex is great. He bought me the new Earth Defense Force 5 or whatever the most recent one is. It's on sale on Steam, and just kind of out of nowhere, he bought it for me. It was really nice. So we should play Earth Defense Force at some point. Not the last one that didn't work on AMD processors, but the newer one.
Yeah, well, so here's the problem, all right? And I also didn't add this to my what's happening, but the new Doom is coming out, you see.
Correct.
And I am beyond hyped for the new Doom. I loved the Doom, last Doom.
The Doom.
I love the
me
Doom.
the Doom. The
Doom.
kids are.
Yeah, Doom
yeah,
Eternal, hyped, dude.
Yeah. Well, we were. Yes, I'm very hyped for Doom as well. We were here, and it's like, okay, well, we got this flight to be in Tucson weeks ago or months ago before any of this stuff happened. So in my head, it was like, oh, I get to go back and play Half-Life, I get to play Doom, and then I get to whatever. But now that we're here for the foreseeable future, I don't have anything to play games. Like, I have my old PlayStation in here, but it's a PS3, and you know, my mom is very nice, and she went and got me a new controller and all this kind of stuff so I can play. But I can't be playing Black Ops 1 for the next 3 weeks, especially when Doom is coming out. So basically, I bought a new gaming laptop just to play Doom and a bunch of other stuff while I'm here. But I'm super hyped for Doom.
That's right. I think my favorite tweet of Doom is the only game where you get the boss music, and that is so true. And it's so reassuring.
It's funny. I was watching some video on YouTube. I think it was a Donkey video, and there was a part, like it was just like a little montage of 1 second gameplay clips of a bunch of different stuff. And there was one game in there, and it just looked super cool. It was just someone jumping and then, you know, sniping some dude in midair, and it was like super fast paced. I was like, oh wow, that looks interesting. I don't know what game that is, and it was Doom, so it just made me more hyped, like seeing things, and I didn't know it was. Anyway, I'm super pumped. It comes out Friday, I think, or I think it's Friday.
It was -6 days on Saturday, so I think it's Friday.
Yeah. So feeling kind of sick on Friday. Whoops.
All I'm saying is I had taken off a Friday and a Monday, not this coming up one. I had taken off a Friday and a Monday, and I'm gonna repurpose those days off now, as my original plans required travel. So. Oh.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Turns out travel isn't really a big thing at the moment.
What's happening, man? What's new?
Video game stuff, still in Tucson stuff. Other than that, just kind of chilling. My mom's internet is terrible. I've been trying to download Call of Duty because that free-to-play Warzone mode came out. Modern Warfare is a 170 gigabyte download. That is the most enormous game I've ever put on any of my machines ever. I've never seen a game with that big of a file size. I think Red Dead is like 100 gigs, and there's a bunch of other whatever large ones, but 170 gigabytes. It's insane. That's almost half of my hard drive space on my laptop. So that's been downloading for 3 days, and it's still, according to my math, will take another 4 to finish. And God, I hope there's not a patch, because then that's like, seriously, I'm getting like 800K down here. So it's rough.
There's definitely a patch. Every game today has a patch at release.
No, I know, but they put out, like, the game came out, you know, months ago or whatever, and then Warzone, I think, just recently came out, but they put out patches like every week. And I guess that's my concern, is just dealing with that, of being able to play the game for like a day, and then I have to wait another 2 to get the patch. It's nuts. So anyway, internet, very slow. But that's about it for me.
Nice.
Nothing else is going on.
The only other thing I had is a joke, and I'm kind of afraid because we may have to cut it, but I'm going to tell you the joke anyway, because I called my brother after I heard this joke to tell him this joke, and I'd never call my brother, to the point that he was concerned that something was wrong. And then I just told him this joke, and he said, "Was that all you called me for?" And I was like,
That's a very Yazeed thing to do. I also read the setup already in your notes.
Okay, why does your butt crack go up and down instead of left and right?
Why?
So when you go down a slide, it doesn't go.
I think how you put it in your notes. You planned to put this in the show.
Oh my god. I don't honestly remember which TikTok that's from, but thank you, whoever recorded themselves doing that and putting it on TikTok. You've given me literally hours of joy hearing that.
Disappointed that it's from a TikTok, but top tier. And also, I think I'm just generally opposed to editing this at all, unless it's something that's like super awful, which we haven't said anything super awful ever on this. So I think I'm just kind of over editing. It took me 20 minutes to edit the last one as opposed to 4 hours like it did all the ones before that. So getting raw home games content.
I hope all of our listeners really appreciate that one. If I find that TikTok again, I'll tweet it. But like, I honestly, I watch too much at work to know.
Great. You see, he's very productive at his job.
Well, I am super productive at work, but like sometimes you're just like, you're eating a snack or something and you're like, oh, what will I do while I eat the snack? And you're like, oh, a TikTok compilation? TikToks that feel like Vine? And you're just like, yeah, let's go for it. But anyway.
Fantastic.
Ready to move on to Song of the Week?
Song of the Week. You go first.
Oh, snap. Okay, so my Song of the Week is Work Song by Hoser, who's famous for the... Oh, fudge. I don't remember his actual famous song.
I have no idea.
Man. Take Me to Church.
H-O-Z. Okay.
Yeah, Take Me to Church. Yeah, his song Take Me to Church. Work Song is not that song, but I like it a lot, and I just recently heard it because I don't really follow Hoser. I don't know.
What's that? What does that song sound like?
That song
describe to me with words.
Okay, so imagine the 1960s America.
Okay.
The song kind of sounds like that, but not the like happy-go-lucky side of it, but the like malcontent
Vietnam War side of it. Okay.
Yeah, it's more. It feels more similar to like a Vietnam War song, which I don't know if I don't take that as you will. I like it a lot, but yeah, it's like it's more like an anti-war song vibe. It's not an anti-war song because they don't even talk about war. And even though it's called Work Song, I feel like it's just about you coming home to like your loved one, and it feels nice to listen to, and I like it a lot.
Is there a guitar in it?
There is a guitar in it. He plays the guitar.
Does he also sing on it?
He does sing. He also has a man bun in the music video.
Oh, that's a lot of negative points for me.
I'm not opposed to the man bun if you can pull it off, and he has the vibe to pull it off. I do not have the vibe to pull it off.
Yeah, everyone I've ever met that has a man bun is actually super cool and totally fine, but just the idea of a man bun puts me off.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's true about like a lot of things though, like flannel. I think the idea of flannel is gross, but most people I know who wear flannel are super chill.
How is the idea of flannel gross?
Like that red and black flannel that literally everyone and their mother literally wears. Like, I don't like that. I don't like that color scheme. I don't like that look. But yeah.
At work, we have someone who's trying to push flannel Fridays. He wears flannel often, and he has that flannel look. So, I mean, flannel's cool with me. I know what you mean, though. Like, I think Alex has that shirt. And it's funny when you see several dudes out and about wearing the same shirt. It's like a basic dude starter pack or whatever, but it's fine. It's flannel.
Listen, there's a bunch of other colors of flannel. People seem to not know this, but there's a gray flannel. I own that gray. I own like a gray and blue flannel. It looks pretty good. I think it looks better than the black and red one that everyone wears.
So your problem is not with flannel, it's with the red and black checkerboard flannel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Specifically.
Okay. That's fair. I'll make sure I wear one of those next time I see you in person.
Do you even own one of those?
No. I want to try to seek one out. My song of the week is Strawberry Peels by it's technically by Lil Uzi Vert. He's barely on the song. It's really Young Thug's song. He's saying strawberry pills, I believe, but he's saying it all fun. Strawberry peels, strawberry peels. It's a very good song. It's got some like distorted drum on it that someone on the internet said it sounds nasty. And I think that's the best description of it. It's like crazy distorted. It's like muddy bass. Anyway, you want to hear Young Thug going nuts over cool bass, and then Gunna's on there too, who's like sleepy Young Thug, and then there's Lil Uzi Vert, who is like the weakest part of the song, but Lil Uzi Vert did like a part 2 of his album, the one that I was super disappointed in. It's a deluxe version that has 14 new songs on it, and that's so much better than the first album he put out, than Eternal Take, I mean. Anyway, Strawberry Peels. It's just energy, raw energy. Would recommend.
Did you say he came out with a part 2, or is it just like an extended version of the first album that he came out with?
So Lil Uzi Vert's kind of a madman, and he put out he calls it the deluxe edition of his album. His album is called Eternal Take. He used to have, or he had an album years ago called Lil Uzi Vert versus the World, right? And so he said that the deluxe of Eternal Take is Lil Uzi Vert versus the World Part 2. So there's technically 2 different names. It has different artwork, and it's a different... I'm going to call it Eternal Take Deluxe, but it's technically part 2 of a previous album he used to have. And it's got a bunch of songs he's recorded like over the years that have leaked, and people were excited for the songs, but they never came out officially. There's one called Lotus, I think, that's been around for like 3 years on the internet. And he was just on Twitter asking people what they wanted on it, because he knows everybody, you know, all these songs have leaked. And so he's just asking people what they wanted, which is pretty cool, I guess. But it's just kind of like a mismatch.
Do you think he did that because his first album got wrecked? Like,
people like his first album. Like it sold like 350K first week, and it got like an 8 point something on Pitchfork. Like it's got a lot of praise, even from a lot of his fans. Like they like it and stuff. So I just think he just has a ton of music, because he hasn't put out an album since 2017 was Love Is Rage 2. So I mean, yeah, he probably just has a ton of music just been sitting around.
oh, okay. That makes sense. I was concerned that like he came out with an album, and then because his album went so like didn't do well, he was like, well, I'm just gonna come out with a deluxe version, which is basically an entirely new album.
No, he's got like the #1 album in the country right now, I think. Pretty sure. So he's not hurting for critical acclaim or whatever.
That makes sense. I don't know of any other albums that drop, but like we've talked about, I don't really follow when albums drop either, really. So
yeah.
That kind of makes sense.
Such a different thing, especially, I mean, like, I don't know about genres you listen to, but specifically with hip hop, it's like people don't even do release dates anymore. It's just like, hey, I got an album. And then it's out like the next week. You're just like, okay, well, I could have followed you on Twitter and read all these crazy conversations and rumors and people tweeting emojis at someone, and that's like, you know, people dig into it, and it's like, well, these guys were both in California on this day, and if you look in the background of this picture, you'll see that they're recording music together, and then that means that there's going to be an album. It's like, nah, I'll just read about it when it comes out. I'm not going to follow all that stuff. But it's hard to know when albums are coming out.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, didn't you tell me like a long time ago that somebody was going to come out with an album, and then like literally like 2 years later, they finally did come out with that album?
Well, like Jay Electronica did that. I don't know if I was telling you about him, but he's been hyping up an album for like 11 years, and it just came out last week. That was one thing. And then like Kids See Ghosts, that Kanye and Kid Cudi album, that was rumored like for a year before. That was when I actually followed all the Twitter conversation of like, oh, this guy tweeted this with Kanye and Kid Cudi, and this guy used to be the engineer for this song on 808s, and so if you piece these things together, it seems like they're going to come out with a thing, and like rumors and rumors and rumors, and then a year later that album came out. So I guess that's just kind of how it is.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I understand.
Internet's crazy.
Very true. WebRTC, equally crazy.
WebRTC, man. I'm super pumped about that.
Nice.
Hopefully I'll have better info about that next week, because I truly have no idea how it works. I don't know how I can send you a string and then our browsers talk to each other. It's just absolutely nuts, but we'll see. It'll go somewhere.
Yeah, I think I'm going to take a look at the POC this week too. People who don't know, it's POC stands for proof of concept. But POC this weekend, and not weekend. It's the middle of the week. I'll take a look during the week.
Today's Monday.
Today, unfortunately, is Monday. So I'll take a look at it this week too, and I'll see if I can understand literally any of what's going on, because my networking is rusty at best.
Yeah. Yeah, like last week when we started talking about TCP, UDP, I was like, are we right? Are we correct? Do WebSockets really go over TCP? Yes, I think. I don't know. And that's just kind of my general level of confidence for everything I do with programming. Like, I think this is how this works.
Yeah. All right, man. Do you have anything else you want to add in?
No, I think that's it. Outro time.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Please subscribe, I guess, and like us on Twitter.
Oh, you're going to be that guy? You're going to be like, comment, subscribe?
I think I'm totally wrong, though, because I think you subscribe on YouTube, right? Or something.
You do subscribe on YouTube.
And then I think you follow on Twitter, and then I have no idea what you do on Spotify. Like, I don't remember. I think you like the podcast.
I think you follow it on Spotify. You follow on Spotify. Well, it's whatever if you don't use Spotify. Thank you for listening to the podcast. Subscribe to us however you want. Good God. I also noticed how last week I said follow us on Twitter and we didn't say what our Twitter was. So it's Homegames.io on Twitter. Go to homegames.io for our website, which has a bunch of links to stuff. We don't have a custom YouTube channel URL because we don't have 100 subscribers. You need to have 100 subscribers to set a custom thing. So it seems counterintuitive. It makes it harder to discover someone's thing. It's like, yeah, go to youtube.com/DXY7314. That's our YouTube. That's our real YouTube channel URL. Not that. Anyway, no, not that specific string, but it's some garbled nonsense like that. But yeah, we also want feedback. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know. I mean, this episode was pretty weird because we're remote and I'm on tin can internet and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, give us feedback. Give me feedback on this horrible mustache I'm growing and the chin hairs and all that kind of stuff. Let us know what you think. Homegames.io.
Bye-bye.
Bye.